Animals were put on trial for murder in medieval courts. Pigs were sentenced to death by hanging. Rats faced excommunication. This actually happened, and it reveals something shocking about how medieval people saw the world. Dr. Dorsey Armstrong, professor of English and medieval literature, is about to expose the truth behind the Middle Ages that most people get completely wrong. The term Middle Ages itself is a historical insult. Renaissance scholars invented it to describe the period between classical Rome and their own supposedly enlightened era. They viewed these centuries as a dark interruption in human progress. The medieval period spans roughly 1,000 years, from the fall of Rome around 500 AD to the Renaissance beginning around 1500 AD. Calling it the Middle Ages suggests it was merely a waiting room between two greater civilizations. Medieval people were not sitting in darkness waiting for television to be invented. They engaged in surprisingly sophisticated entertainment. Festivals dominated the calendar with over 150 holy days annually. Communities gathered for mystery plays depicting biblical stories with elaborate special effects. Taverns hosted drinking games, dice, and storytelling competitions. The wealthy enjoyed hunting with trained falcons, while common folk played early versions of football so violent that kings repeatedly tried to ban them. Medieval English would be completely incomprehensible to modern speakers. Old English, spoken until around 1100 AD, resembles German more than modern English. The Norman conquest of 1066 transformed the language entirely. French-speaking nobles ruled over English-speaking peasants, creating a linguistic class divide. By the 14th century, Middle English emerged as a hybrid. Geoffrey Chaucer's Canterbury Tales from the 1380s requires translation for modern readers, demonstrating how radically the language evolved within just a few centuries. Medieval people did not sleep the way we do. Historical evidence reveals a segmented sleep pattern lost to modern society. People experienced first sleep from dusk until midnight, then woke for 1 to 2 hours. During this wakeful period, they prayed, had intimate conversations, visited neighbors, or engaged in quiet activities. Second sleep followed until dawn. Artificial lighting destroyed this natural rhythm. The medieval sleep cycle may have been more aligned with human biology than our current 8-hour block. Medieval castles were not romantic fairy tale settings. They were cold, damp, military fortifications designed for survival during siege warfare. Stone walls provided protection but trapped moisture, creating moldy, uncomfortable living spaces. Moats were not filled with clean water but with sewage and waste, creating a biological barrier more disgusting than defensive. Windows were small slits prioritizing defense over light. Heating was nearly impossible, and smoke from fireplaces filled rooms. Nobility endured these harsh conditions because survival outweighed comfort. The myth that medieval people never bathed is historically inaccurate. Public bathhouses existed in most towns, inherited from Roman traditions. People bathed regularly until the Black Death changed everything. When plague killed 1/3 of Europe's population between 1347 and 1353, medical theory blamed open pores from bathing for allowing disease to enter the body. Bathhouses closed, and washing became associated with illness. This misconception about medieval filth actually describes post-plague paranoia, not the earlier medieval period. Medieval infant mortality rates were devastating, with approximately 1/3 of children dying before age 5. This brutal reality shaped every aspect of medieval life. Parents delayed emotional attachment and formal naming of infants. The church developed emergency baptism procedures for dying newborns. High childhood mortality rates meant women needed to give birth frequently to ensure family survival. Those who survived childhood, however, could live into their 60s or 70s. The low average life expectancy reflects infant deaths, not universal early death for adults. King Arthur may have been based on a real Romano-British leader who fought Saxon invaders around 500 AD. Medieval writers transformed this possible historical figure into a legendary king. Geoffrey of Monmouth's 1136 Historia Regum Britannia established the Arthurian legend, mixing history with fantasy. French poet Chrétien de Troyes added courtly love and the Holy Grail in the 1170s. By the time Thomas Malory wrote Le Morte d'Arthur in 1485, the legend had absorbed centuries of additions. The Holy Grail itself was a medieval invention, never mentioned in early Arthur stories. Medieval courts prosecuted animals because the legal system viewed them as moral agents capable of sin. A pig that killed a child was not simply destroyed, but formally tried, convicted, and executed following complete legal procedures. Lawyers defended the animals, witnesses testified, and judges issued verdicts. Insects faced excommunication from the church. This practice reveals medieval theology. All creatures possess souls and moral responsibility. The trials demonstrated that law and divine justice extended to every living being, maintaining cosmic order in a world where the boundary between human and animal was less defined than today. The Middle Ages defy every simple explanation. This was not a dark age of ignorance, but a complex millennium of transformation, innovation, and survival. From segmented sleep to animal trials, medieval society operated under completely different assumptions about reality, justice, and human nature. Subscribe to explore more hidden truths about history that challenge everything we think we know.